Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Fumbling Gurus Season 2, where we talk all things NFL. And I want to introduce you to our host. We have the one, we have the true, we have the Gannon,
How's it going? Been a while.
and in the bottom of the screen, standing at 7 foot 8 inches tall, weighing 193 pounds of pure beard and muscle, we have Mr. Tom.
It's mostly beard, but yeah. Welcome back, guys.
And then you have me. Hi, I'm the Dolphins fan, as you guys can see by the lovely background for those who are watching. And I'm John. And it is really awesome to be a part of here. I'm excited to be back. And I hope you guys are ready for an action packed season 2 of the NFL. G Man, real quick, one quick sentence. During this off season, we're going to talk about every team breakdown here, but in the off season, give me a short phrase. What would you call it?
Lunacy.
There you go. Sick. Tom, I'm sorry, Tom. Uh, you had a huge array of emotions watching your team. Tell me in one or two words what went through your mind with the Bucks offseason.
Oh man, I don't even know. We went from not having a quarterback to having the greatest quarterback again. We're still working on some of the positions, so it's still a little stressful. But I mean, it's not as good as picking up AJ Brown. So
I didn't realize Dan Marino came out of retirement and started playing for the Bucks. That's new to me.
you never
Well,
know what'll happen, you know.
yeah, absolutely. Well, I want to jump right in. We have a lot to cover. So, basically, I'm going to give a quick rundown of what we're going to be doing over the next 8 weeks. We are going to break down each division. We're going to talk in depth about each team, kind of give what we think, how they'll do, how they'll stack up, and we'll move along until week one. So, this week, we have chosen out of a hat randomly the tough division, the AFC South.
It's a
Tom,
great one to start with. I like
it
the pick.
is. I thought so too. And I want you to describe the AFC South in one word.
This year is gonna be Jaguars. hmm Yep,
That's
one.
an interesting one word. And Gannon, I'm gonna hit you up the same question here. How would you describe the AFC South in one, two, maybe three words?
Trash can division.
All right. Well, if we're gonna talk trash can, we got to start with the Houston Texans. So, real quick, the Houston Texans last year, their star quarterback sat out all year. This year, he gets traded. We're not going to talk about him too much, but they really didn't do a whole lot. It was a lot of small acquisitions. They picked up a running back and Marlon Mack. This was a team that was not very good last year. They got some draft picks. They were able to make some moves in the draft. Again, and what did you think about the Texans this year going into this season?
Listen, how do I really follow a team that was 4-13, bottom of the barrel? And who do they got? I think they got a new head coach. He's said that he's putting the team together and he's hopeful for this season, but that's what everybody says. And I think that they're going to be the worst team in the NFL this next year. Or this
Talk,
year.
talk about head
So
coach searches. They had one of the most bizarre head coach searches. So they went out and were originally going to hire their old quarterback. The name is escaping me right now, Josh McCown. And at the last minute, thanks to Brian Flores' lawsuits, they decided maybe we shouldn't go with the new young white quarterback. Maybe we'll bring up the defensive coordinator, ex Buccaneers coach, and make him head coach. And that's where the Texans are. Tom, talk to me about the Texans.
I mean, it's clearly not their season this year. I don't think they'll have any type of run in the playoffs or make it to the playoffs or anything. But I think with the head coach and Lovey Smith coming in, I like him. He was at Tampa. He did not have good assets at Tampa either. So he's been in this position before. I feel like he maybe knows how to build up this team. And I mean, we're talking about offensive assets. Lovey doesn't utilize that too much. He's defense. He's running the ball. He's kind of old school football. Um, and Mills, right? Mills is he was rookie last year.
David Mills, yes.
He was good. He had a couple good games. They didn't win many of them. So I think if he can be built up, they can get the coach in there. Maybe next year, you never know.
I was going to bring that up. David Mills really surprised me. I believe he was a second round pick last year. A lot of people thought it was a waste of a pick. And due to some injuries and the whole Deshaun Watson thing, he got thrusted into the starting lineup. And he had a good year. You
Mm-hmm.
look, if you line him up and base him on the rookie quarterbacks of last year, he was right up there with Mac Jones. He was right there with Trevor Lawrence. He was certainly better than that train wreck of a quarterback with the Jets and Zach Wilson. So they've got a little bit of a future. They've got a lot of assets. They, they went defense kind of early. They've got some offensive line help. That they're going to want to run the ball and keep it out of the young quarterback. But this is not a good team. I don't care how you slice it. This is a bottom 5 team in the NFL. They're going to win 3, maybe 4 games. They'll have a top 5 pick. I mean, do you guys see anything different? I mean, you're agreeing with me, Gannon, Tom.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. Like I said, I think if Mills pans out, I think that's what, if I were them, that'd be my goal this year. See if Mills is our guy. If he is, great. We get to use our resources for something else next year. But you're not going to win games this year. Don't go into the season expecting great things to happen.
You're a Texans fan? So
I don't know how many Texans fans there are, but yeah, I feel bad for you, son. You've got 99 problems, but winning a football game isn't one. And I want to transition from that. We kind of knew what their offseason was going to be. It was going to be bad. It was going to be rebuild. That's what they're in. But I want to talk about a team that is a contender, a team that has hopes for a Super Bowl, kind of the other end of the spectrum. They had a weird offseason. I'm going to talk to Gannon first on this one because he got an asset from this team. I want to talk about the Tennessee Titans offseason. They unloaded A.J. Brown. Julio Jones gets cut. They traded for the injured receiver for the Rams.
Robert Woods.
Yes, thank you, Robert Woods. Does any of that matter? They still have Derrick Henry. Talk to me about the state of the Titans.
so it's basically the Titans, but lesser. You don't have many weapons there. You're gonna have to rely more on Derrick Henry, and who knows if he could stay healthy if you're relying on him as much as I think you're gonna rely on him.
Mm-hmm.
I know that they picked up a new QB, and there's kind of friction between Tannehill and him. I think Tannehill said that he doesn't want to mentor him, and he's, you know, they said that he's competing for a job, and that's how it should be. But yeah, he's not going to mentor him, which is fine. But over time, that's kind of, that friction's always going to be there. They don't have AJ Brown, so like, what do you do, right? Your season's not looking as good as it was last year to me on paper.
I mean, they traded A.J. Brown, but they picked up a rookie quarterback or a wide receiver that can step in the role, right? I'm kidding. Obviously, A.J. Brown is an elite receiver. Rookie's not going to come in and make the difference. I mean, really, they're hoping Robert Woods can come in and be that guy. So,
Can he be
and
that guy though? That's the real catch 22 there.
well, they got to catch 22. You're right. So So, Gannon brought it up. So, guys, we apologize. We know each other by different names. There's going to be some mess ups, especially as this first episode back. Tom, Gannon talked about the quarterbacks in the third round that they kind of did interesting move. They drafted Malik Willis, big arm, athletic kid. And yes, Tannehill said what he said, but he's backed off the comments a little bit and basically said, hey, you know, it's not my job to mentor, but I'll help him any way I can.
Hmm.
Is there friction? I mean, you don't draft a guy in the third round to just be a backup, but is there friction? Is Tannehill's job on the line this season? What do you make of the Titans? I asked you a bunch of questions.
Well, I'm just going to answer it however I feel like answering it, so it's okay.
Perfect.
Um, I think, I don't know. When I hear comments like that, I always feel like it's taken out of context. Because I mean, you're on a football team, you're playing with these guys day in and day out. It's like you going up to someone in your workplace and be like, you know what, I'm not going to show you how to do that Excel thing. Like, you figure out the spreadsheet yourself. I'm not here to mentor you. I mean, no one does that in the workplace, right? Even if you don't want to, you may make some snide comment and move along and show them how to do it. And I think that's all that was is like, hey, I'm not like my job, like you said, Finn, is not John, is to not sit here and mentor you, right? Like my job is to play football. If you want to take my advice as it comes and whatever, then great. We'll have a good relationship. But I'm not going to sit here and teach you how to play football. So I do think it was probably taken a little out of context. But I mean, to the point too, with Derrick Henry, they did pick up what a running back. I think it was. I can't remember what round it was, but they did
Oh,
pick up a running back. Let's see, it was
fourth round
fourth round. Hassan
That's
Haskins.
out of
Um,
Michigan.
so they're trying to give him support. They're not gonna, hopefully, not gonna run him ragged like last year. Um, but he is. I did read a stat. It's his. He has 3 straight seasons with 100 plus rushing yards per game. And if he makes it to four, only one person has done that before, which was Jim Brown. So I
Elite
mean,
status right there.
yeah, I mean if you're going to push someone, Henry's the person to push. So
I mean, it's so fitting that Derrick Henry is on the team called the Titans when he's built the way he's built.
hmm.
Now
Freight train.
they did draft that running back. They lost their backup running back to the Panthers. So are they expecting a rookie to really relieve some of that pressure off of Henry? I don't think so. I think this offense, just like last year, runs through Henry, and they hope to get just enough out of Tannehill, and they're going to rely on the defense. I mean, they didn't lose many players on defense. They pretty much lost all offense, a couple linebackers, and they're hoping the defense that wasn't that good last year turns it up a notch. I don't know. It was a
This is
weird offseason to me. Sorry, Gannon, you were
this,
going to say
this
something.
is this is also a defense that sacked Joe Burrow 9 times, wasn't it,
and
last
st-
year?
and still didn't win. Yeah.
And still didn't win, but still, it wasn't on the defense, it was on the offense at that
You're
point. I mean, you sack a guy 9 times, you'd expect to win.
and you're right, but on the other side, and the flip of the coin, though, other side of the coin, whatever the phrase is, the NFL today's NFL is the passing game. What are they going to do? Robert Woods is coming off of an ACL injury. They again traded away AJ Brown. They cut Julio Jones. I mean, granted, Julio Jones was a shell of himself. What are they going to do at wide receiver? What are they going to do? They have enough power on offense to score? I mean, clearly they can run the ball.
I mean, Robert Woods is a good receiver.
Coming off an ACL.
True, but I mean, if he comes back the way he was playing for the Rams, I mean, he's a good starter and a good target for Tannehill. The only problem is name another wide receiver on the Titans. And the only saving grace I see is they have There's an Austin Hooper for tight end, I believe they picked up. I think he came
Uh,
over from the Falcons or whatever.
yeah, they signed Austin Hooper, um, and they signed a couple offensive line guys. Nothing too crazy.
So I mean, Hooper is a good target too. He's not, necessarily an elite tight end, comparative with the two elite tight ends um, of the league. But I don't know. I don't see. I've never been a fan of Tannehill, but he always seems to somehow do a good job. So I don't know. Maybe they'll surprise us.
All right. Well, I'm gonna ask. Well, Gannon, anything else you want to add about the Titans right now?
Nope.
So I'm gonna ask you my next question. Where do the Titans finish this year in the division?
Second. Second for
Interesting.
sure. I we'll go into the other couple teams here, but I just don't see, there's one team on the top. I'm pretty sure we all know who that's going to be. There's
Jaguars.
going to be two teams on the bottom. There's going to be two teams on the bottom, and that's pretty much. I don't. You guys have been watching football longer than me. This division, it feels like that's just how the dominoes fit. There's two trash teams, two good teams, but.
I can agree with that. Tom, how do you feel that the Texans are Texans? How do you feel the Titans are going to stack up in the division? Where do you see them finishing?
I tend to agree with Gannon. I think second's probably a good slot for them, but I could see them slipping down to third. I don't think anyone's going to be below the Texans. We can kind of rule that out. But if the Titans cannot get their cohesiveness together, just having Henry, just relying on Tannehill is not going to work. So I could see them slipping to third. I don't think they'll be the top in the division, though.
So you think that some team is going to, like both of you think that one of these next two teams are going to upseat the current champion of the AFC South.
Yeah.
I'd have been there for 2 years in a row. Yeah, I do.
So I want to talk next about the team that I had high expectations for next year or last year.
Jaguars.
A team that I expected to win the division last year. I want to talk about a team that traded their starting quarterback, who has now had a different quarterback for the last 9 seasons since since the season before Andrew Luck retired, and that is the Indianapolis Colts. First and foremost, they traded Carson Wentz and they got Matt Ryan. Tom, you have seen Matt Ryan in the AFC South. NFC South. Is Matt Ryan an upgrade over Wentz? And is that a big upgrade, slight upgrade, or not an upgrade?
I I don't know. I Matt Ryan is someone I can never figure out because if you ask me if he's good, I would say yes. He is a good quarterback. If he was on my team, I would be excited about it. But then you look at his stats and you look at his win percentage and you're like, well, is he a good quarterback? I don't know anymore. Um, but he's experienced, clearly. Um, I mean, if you look at like the Tom Brady's, the Aaron Rodgers, I feel not necessarily performance wise, but just experience wise. He's been in the league. He knows what to do. He knows what to do to win. Um, but I mean, looking at his stats last year, he I don't know if he does the same thing this year. It's not gonna be pretty. But he has a little more around him on this team, I feel like. So I don't want to put all of his stats on him for last season because I feel a lot of it was out of his control. Um, but he is, he's getting up there as well. So being able to keep his composure, it's a long season, stuff like that can take his toll as well.
That is true. I want to defend Matt Ryan here for last year. He was on the Falcons.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure that me and you could have been a starting wide receiver for the Falcons last year. They were not good. Their best receiver, Calvin Ridley, went. I don't. He went missing,
Yeah.
and then gets suspended for the year for gambling while he was away. Their leading target guy, Russell Gage, is a good receiver, but far from a great receiver. And they drafted a tight end, number 4 overall, and was expecting him to be the next great thing
Hmm.
as a rookie. That's not a recipe for success. So I'm willing to say that Matt Ryan's not done. I think he's a good quarterback. I like this as an upgrade. I liked Carson Wentz. I was not sold on Wentz, but I thought that he was good enough that this was a really, really well run, built team. They have a great offensive line. They've got some wide receivers that are sneaky. They're not the guys that you look at and go, "Hey, they're top players." But you look at them and you go, "Pretty good." They do lose T.Y. Hilton. They lost Marlon Mack, but they still have Michael Pittman and
Hmm.
this and they still have some guy named Jonathan Taylor. I don't know if you've heard of him, Gannon. Would you like to talk about Matt Ryan and Jonathan Taylor?
Yes. So let's step back to last year, the Colts. Okay. Before we go on to Matt Ryan with the new stuff, we got to talk about the old stuff. Carson Wentz was supposed to be the prodigy that was going to take the Colts to a new level. And everybody's like, the Colts got Carson Wentz. He's back with his old coach. Blah, blah, blah. Dude, the guy was good, but when it counted, he was bad. It, they got kicked out of the playoffs by the Jaguars. So, I mean, which, yes, is a division rival, but also the worst in the league last year. So, you know, that says something. But I've thought about this hard, and I was just like, Matt Ryan, I agree with Tom here. Matt Ryan's consistent, and he had kind of a crap team with the Falcons. So he could potentially show promise with the Colts more than what Wentz would, in my opinion. Jonathan Taylor, though, my thing is he took off last year. Is he going to do the same thing this year? And I don't know. I just don't know. New QB, it's hard to say.
One thing I can say for sure is that if you had him on your fantasy team last year, you certainly didn't go 0-5 to start the year and then and miss the playoffs. You would never do that with that guy.
Never.
Oh no,
No.
never.
No, I think.
Now,
I
go ahead,
think
Tom.
that's kind of my position with this trade, right? Why are they going after Matt Ryan? I feel like nothing else has worked for them. They need a quarterback. He's experienced. Again, he knows he knows what he's doing. They don't necessarily have to worry about him coming in and teaching them the NFL or teaching them how to play quarterback or teaching them whatever. He knows how to get into the system. He knows how to build a system. So they're kind of like, well, if we can't make Matt Ryan work, who can we make work, and what is the whole point of this? So that to me is almost the goal for them this year. Is you brought on an experienced quarterback. You need to win games. You need to make it to the playoffs. You need to win a couple playoff games. Because what else is the point of bringing on an older quarterback than to do that?
They feel they are in win now mode.
Yeah,
So my question to you, Tom, is: Are they a winning team? Is this a Super Bowl contender?
I don't know because if you look at the people and the personnel, sure, I do think they can go pretty far in the playoffs. But why were the quarterbacks not working before? Why can they not get the offense? Like we said, they had one of, if not the best running back last season, and you didn't make the playoffs. So
Now,
and Carson Wentz isn't a shrugged off quarterback. So what's missing? What's the missing piece for them, and why can they not get this thing cohesive?
I mean, to be fair, 2 years ago they made the playoffs as a wild card with Philip Rivers. Philip Rivers then decided to retire.
Hmm.
So I mean, this is a team that does have experience. They do have a great offensive line. They have Jonathan Taylor. They were looking at quarterback. They felt that Carson Wentz held them back. Carson Wentz, when he was with the Eagles, was one of the most turnover prone quarterbacks in the league. He fumbled the football, he threw interceptions, and the idea was that he was at an MVP caliber player when he had the offensive coordinator that's now the head coach of the Colts. They get him, and he still turned the ball over, and he still had his errant throws, and he wasn't the guy. So they recognize that. They ship him off. They pay great price for it, and now they get Matt Ryan.
So my counterpoint to that, and something I noted because I knew one of you was going to bring this up, Matt Ryan had fewer touchdowns and more interceptions last season than Carson Wentz did.
But we talked about it. His supporting cast was awful.
That so you're saying the interceptions is all because of everyone else on the team, not because of Matt Ryan's decision making or whatever.
I
I don't
want
buy it.
I
Mm,
want to say that. I mean,
You can
I'm
not
not
turn over
saying
the
it's
football.
true.
You cannot turn over the football even with a bad team.
I mean, you're right on that. Tua doesn't turn the ball over very often, and he did not have a great team last year on the offense. Mac Jones, not a very good quarterback on a not great team, didn't turn the ball over. So you're right. But I want to say that Matt Ryan will get it fixed. But
I'm just saying numbers don't lie, man. Numbers don't
I
lie.
listen,
I prefer the
listen.
film.
I got it.
28 times I watched it. Or was
I
it
got.
3 times? 28 or 3? 28, 3. Oh, sad.
I got it. I got what's gonna happen. Okay, they're gonna start with Matt Ryan, and then Nick Foles is gonna win them their championship.
What was his nickname? I forgot.
I can't say it. I
BDN,
want to, but I cannot say it.
Big Nick. Well,
Saint Nicholas.
they have themselves a pretty nasty defense. They were they played pretty well last year, if I'm not mistaken, but they weren't as good as they were the year prior. Can they get their defense back? Can Matt Ryan elevate the team? It's going to be a lot of question marks. This coaching staff has to start feeling the pressure. I think the Colts have to be serious contenders this year, or else you might look at that GM, you might look at that head coach, and you might see someone's head roll. There's pressure on this Colts team. I don't know if they're Super Bowl contenders. I do think they're playoff contenders. I think they win the division. But Gannon, are they Super Bowl contenders?
I know they might make playoffs, but they aren't going to the Super Bowl.
Where do you have them in the division?
Number one.
Number one. Wow. I thought for sure you were going to say 3 on that one. Tom, we asked you, I know I asked you, are they Super Bowl contenders? You said you're not sure. Where do you have them in the division? Do you have them number one as well?
I would say they have the greatest chance of being number one. Yeah, I would definitely put them in the on paper in the first slot. And in terms of Super Bowl, to me it all comes down to Matt Ryan. If he is the quarterback everyone thinks and says he is and shows it next season, sure, I can see them making a run for the Super Bowl.
Yeah, if Matt Ryan can play like he did when he took Atlanta to the Super Bowl, this is a very good team.
Hmm.
I don't know if I buy it. I don't think Jonathan Taylor has the year that does. I don't know if the defense is a top 10 defense. And I think for them to be Super Bowl caliber, they've got to be a top 10 defense.
Hmm.
And so I have them winning the division because really, let's face it, I think the Titans lost too much. They lost too much firepower. I don't think the Colts did enough to make themselves better. I think they're getting in the division lead by default. Do you have any other comments on this before we move to the most interesting team in the league?
No, I just want to hear the great intro you're about to give the Jaguars.
Yeah, same.
Well,
Are you
you
gonna
are in
transition to this?
for a ride. So we talked about the Colts. They're a good team. We talked about the Titans. They had a weird offseason. We talked about the Texans. They're just downright bad. And then we get to the Jags, who had a weird regular season, a weird offseason, the worst team in the league. They had a lot
Whoa,
of money. They
whoa.
had
Whoa,
a lot of
whoa,
draft capital.
whoa.
They had
You're
the number
hurt.
one overall pick 2 years now in a row.
Yeah, planned. It was all planned.
Yeah,
The
you're hurting Tom's
Jacksonville,
feelings.
the Jacksonville Jaguars. I'm going to say it right now. I'm going to just say the biggest acquisition they did was by getting rid of that garbage human being, Urban Meyer. Period. End of story. They've moved on. They are a better team today than they were yesterday because of that move.
Hmm.
Now, Tom, this is kind of your second team. This is a team that you kind of root for, you kind of watch. There's a soft spot in your heart for the Jacksonville Jaguars. What
It's
did they do this offseason? And kind of give me the overall picture of this team.
yeah. They're kind of my second team because when they finally do blow up, you can't say I'm a bandwagoner because I've been talking about. So I just keep throwing them out every once in a while. So you guys are like, oh yeah, he's a Jags fan.
Yeah, he's so good.
um, Man, I don't even know where to start with this team. New head coach. Well, not new to them head coach. Um, the offensive coordinator is new. It's his first year as offensive coordinator. He's been on offenses before, but he hasn't led them. He still isn't the play caller though, if I'm correct. I think Doug Peterson likes to do play calling. So I mean that's kind of nice. Give him some time to warm up there. Um, Trevor Lawrence again. I don't know where to place him. Everyone came in saying he was the next greatest thing, that he was ready to be a superstar, and he just isn't. Not yet. Can he be? I think there's potential. I see there's glimpses of it. We saw some of the passes last season. There's glimpses of what he can do. But can he do it consistently? Can he come out and do it, every week in the NFL? Is yet to be seen. I think he had like the worst passer rating overall last season. He was like either dead last or second to last in passer rating last season. I know he was dead last in yards per attempt. So I mean, yeah, he was. Dude, don't make me pull up my spreadsheet, man.
That just
Um,
surprised me. I thought Tua was right there. So
let's see. He was dead last in six passing yards per attempt in 2021. Six passing yards per attempt. So I mean, I don't know. I don't. There's so much new to this team that I don't even know how to gauge it. I think this is just a season you let them go out and throw the football around, figure each other out, figure out what the team is supposed to be, what it wants to look like, and give them probably not even next season. Probably give them 2 seasons. We have the first, like we said, first draft pick last two times. So hopefully, if Trevor Lawrence pans out, you have those. You're starting to stack up the team. You're starting to get the talent, and like 2023, 2024 is when we start seeing them actually play football.
one of the things that they have going for them is one of their first round picks last year got hurt in the offseason. Running back, an elite,
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to say an elite player, but like an elite talent. He was a first round pick for a reason. He's really fast, good hands. He's a running back that can, that pass catching role, and they're getting him back this year. So that's a huge boost. They overspent in free agency. They spent a lot of money. They signed Christian Kirk to a stupid contract. They went out and they got themselves, Ingram, Cam
Mm-hmm.
Robinson, Brandon Scherf. They got themselves some key players. they said, well, "This is who we are. Let's run it." G-Man, did they do enough? And is just getting rid of Urban Meyer making automatically Trevor Lawrence better? Because all of those stats you threw at me about Lawrence being bad. I'm pointing to Urban Meyer. I'm saying that their entire coaching staff, their entire coaching tree, everything about that team last year was so bad that I'm not even going to look at any of their players last year and go, they were bad because they were bad. I'm blaming the coach.
Sure.
They're getting a pass from last year.
Listen, okay, this team is a 3-win team from last year, bottom of the barrel team. They worse than the NFL. Dolphins were one of their wins, but you got to look at the coach. You got to look at the coach. Urban Meyer, he was not for the team. He lost the locker room. I think that Doug Peterson is a nice turnaround. His play calling, like it's more player friendly than just whatever he wants to do, right? I think that Trevor Lawrence is going to be in good hands with Doug Peterson. But ultimately, like from the stats that you told me, Tom, I did not know, but I guarantee you, and this I can guarantee, he's going to have a better season this year than he will next year under Doug Peterson than Urban Meyer last year. So I could guarantee you that. Whether it's a winning season, don't know, but can assure you it'll be a better season.
I bet the Jaguars surprise teams this year. I'm not saying they're a good team, but I think at the end of the year, they're going to be around a 500 team, and people are going to go, "What? Where did they come from?"
Mm-hmm.
They got some pretty good defensive players in the draft. They got themselves some. Now again, they overpaid, but overpaid players can still produce. And I think that this team, getting some players back, getting a better coaching staff, getting a better offense, getting a coach that's not going to go to a bar after a loss and cheat on his wife, I think that is going to automatically make this team better. And I think you're going to see drastic improvement across the board. So, Tom, I don't think you have to be embarrassed to be a Jaguars fan. You can show your true colors. You can drop that whole TB thing and join the Jacksonville Jags bandwagon.
We'll see. Maybe we'll have to make some wagers.
You should just get a shirt that's like cut this way and just like have half Jaguars, half Tampa Bay.
Mm. No,
So,
I do agree with that point because, like you were saying, I think clearly the coaching staff did the team no favors. They have talent. They have some of the pieces in place. Are they perfect? Is everything ready to go? No. But now that they actually have a coaching staff and they can start utilizing these, I think you're right. I think there will be some surprises this season. It just won't be we're going to the Super Bowl surprises.
they're not even going to be pushing for a playoff spot,
Yeah.
but maybe they can hang around 500.
Yeah.
You know,
Maybe beat up on the Dolphins a couple times. Yeah, something like that.
if they can go 7-10, 8-9, that's a good season for them. If they can double their win total from last year, that's a good season for them.
That's true.
Yep.
If they can just not get blown out week in and week out, that's a good season for them.
I will say I miss DJ Chark though. He was one of my I liked watching him play
Yeah, DJ Chark, he went to the Detroit Lions.
Oh,
for Marvin Jones, I believe.
Now, Marvin Jones is a player.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean they have like I said they have what? They have Kirk from Arizona. Um
Zay Jones.
yeah, Jones Jr. The Ingram coming in as tight end. I like Ingram as a tight end.
Great
Um
prospect. Never lived up with the Giants, but
yeah, I mean
good.
they have some talent, man.
And keep in mind, their defense should be improved. Like, they actually went out and they drafted a couple guys, they signed a few guys. I mean, this defense isn't atrocious.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that to me was one of the signs the team was struggling internally because they've always had a pretty solid defense, and last year it just didn't show up. And hopefully they start seeing that back because that's kind of one of the staples of the team.
So, Gannon, where do you see this Jacksonville Jaguar team stacking up within the division?
There's only one place it can go. Number 3. Possibly. Okay, here's the thing though. Possibly 2. Possibly 2. But not the bottom. That was reserved for a very special team. And that is the Texans.
You completely caught me off guard with that. There's only one way it can go. Number 3. Just you killed me with that. Tom, where do they stack up in the division?
I mean, I'm in the same boat. I think if I had to put one spot, it's going to be the third slot for them. But they can surprise some people. And again, if the Titans don't come out and play what they're supposed to be doing, I could see the Titans worse than the Jags this year.
You know, if there's an injury to Derrick Henry for any length of time like it was last year, I think you're going to see the Tennessee Titans in serious trouble. And I could absolutely see the Jaguars pushing for that 2 spot. I think we're pretty much in agreement. We all think the Colts are the best of this division, followed by the Titans, followed by the Jags, followed by the Texans. And I'm just overall, so that's kind of what we think of each team. But I want to talk about the division as a whole. Gannon, how do you view the AFC South when you compare to other divisions?
So NFC East. I love the NFC East. That's my division. But and it's known as the NFC least for a reason. Honestly, I think that the AFC South is worse. I do. Yeah, Giants terrible. Washington, eh. Eagles, Cowboys, they're up there. It's kind of the same, but I feel like Cowboys and Eagles are more consistent than the Colts. And I can't really say the Titans because the Titans are pretty good lately. But yeah, I don't know. It's okay, but lesser of the divisions for sure.
Is the nickname AFC Sleuth a good nickname or a terrible nickname for this division?
Uh, Terrible. I was just about to ask
Oh
what
no.
we could nickname this division, and it's not going to be that. Um, but yeah, I don't think there's any question if this is the worst division right now, or at least maybe the worst in terms of difference between the top and the bottom teams. So yeah, I don't. It's not one I'm necessarily going to keep an eye on outside of keeping track of Jaguars and stuff like that. But I'm not expecting to see. Colts could surprise everyone, but they won't have much competition in the division. I don't think so.
Well, you could just look forward to the Jags kicking the Colts out of the playoffs again.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
It's going to be interesting in terms of the AFC South. One of those have to move on to the playoffs, just like the NFC least when they had a team that the losing record make the playoffs.
That's
I
okay. At
don't
least we
see
didn't lose
that.
to the Jags.
I don't see that happening this year with this team. I think that there's enough. Colts are good enough that they'll win more games than they'll lose. But yeah, this division is just it's a little lackluster. And I so for those wondering how we pick teams, it's really based on kind of a random schedule. But it was such a good division to pick, I felt, because it is the worst division in football. I think you look around and while there's some bad teams, there's still some like pretty good teams. Or at least there's one really good team. And then you get to this division and you're just kind of scratching your head. The team that was supposed to be good lost their best player. I'm the only other division, and we're gonna get into more details. Would be the NFC North because the Packers did just as weird of an offseason as the Titans, but they still have Aaron Rodgers, which is greater than Ryan Tannehill. So we're gonna give them a pass. But that's kind of what we want to do week in and week out for the next 8 weeks leading up to the week right before the season starts. We're gonna give a week preview and all that good stuff. Um, so I'm gonna go to Tom. Is there any other final thoughts that you have on the AFC South? Specifically AFC South, but in general, this is kind of our last minute to chit chat and get our thoughts out there.
Sure. Um, yeah, I would say, we're putting a lot of emphasis on this division and how we feel the teams aren't necessarily going to pan out. And like you said, Titans moved a lot of people, Colts moved, every team moved a lot of people this offseason. So I feel like, this is the first one we're going through and we kind of sat down and looked at these teams. But there's going to be a lot of this upcoming. Like, how is Denver going to fare this season? They have a lot of new components. Seattle, are they now the worst team in the league? Are they, what are these things that are going to pop up as we're diving into more of these divisions? So I think there's a lot of changes this season, a lot of things moved around, and there's going to be a lot of guesswork.
Guessing is my middle name, and I'm very excited for that. Gannon, final thoughts on the AFC South in general, and then of course, kind of your last minute to talk.
This division's not looking good. It's not looking good at all. I think the only real contender is the Colts, and it's basically like, oh, how's the Titans gonna do without all their weapons? Like, yes, Jags have potential. Ultimately, it's just kind of a wishy-washy division. I don't know. I've never really been a big fan of any of these teams, but I don't know. It's going to be an interesting season as a whole, and teams that we don't expect to do well are probably going to do well. So we'll have to be on the lookout for some of these teams. Cough, cough, Jags.
I'm very excited for this. Just this podcast. I'm excited for the future of the podcast, how we're going to transition and do more stuff. I'm excited for the season to be around the corner. It's almost like, we kicked off with this division. It's off to the races. Go Colts. Um, but I'm very excited for all of this. I'm excited to do these breakdowns and kind of see where we line up and how we think things are going to go and see just how wrong we really are. Like the Texans are going to find a way to be the best team in this division, and we're all just going to go, we're idiots. And that's what football season's all about. And so I want to say thank you to everybody who is watching and listening to us. I want to thank you guys for the journey that this is season 2. We kicked off last year. We did some good things, and now we want to elevate. We want to bring knowledge to you guys. We want to just expand, and we're going to kick it off with a great season. And so until next week, bye everybody, and thank you.
See ya.
See ya.